Claude, Codex, Gemini, and open model Gen AI from zero with Andrew Brown. Hey, everybody. Good evening. Hello. Welcome everybody to vBrownBag, the tech education show for cloud, DevOps, AI, infrastructure professionals. My name is Chris. With me, as always, is fudge. Oh, I forgot to mute this thing. With me, as always, is Damien and Shala. Andrew, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Oh, great. Yep. I'm super warm and just tired of AI and hoping we're talking about something else today.
Oh no. Well, you're screwed because that's all we're talking about today.
Oh, darn it.
So before we get started, Shala, how have you been? It's been a little bit since it's been a while since we've all gotten together, hasn't it? It's been more than a few weeks.
Yeah. I'm tired, not gonna lie. I started a new workout regimen this morning that I start at 6 a.m. my time, followed by an hour walk, and then I have work. And then I decided to start building a video game. I'm tired, but hey, I'm here.
Wait a second. You get up at 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Really, I get up at 4. No, I don't have kids. That's why
I know you don't have kids. What the H are you doing getting up so early?
Yes. So I'm sorry. You get up at 4 a.m.?
Okay. So first off, I have a military dad. So it's just something at birth. I can't undo it at this point. So start there. We woke up, I had to wake up when he woke up. And so that's there first off. And then also, with my workout routines, I want to have enough time to get that done in the morning before I start work, because me working out after work just don't be happening.
Future episode, Shala's abusive father. Okay, got it.
My dad was in the Navy, and I didn't get any of that nonsense growing up.
My dad was in the Air Force. I also didn't get any of that growing up.
I did. I had to learn how to properly tuck corners when making up the bed.
Which branch was your dad in?
Was he a drill sergeant?
So other fun story, it's classified. Not even bullshitting.
It's classified what branch your dad was in?
Yeah, I can't talk about it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Future episode part 2.
My dad was a bus driver.
My mom, that's what she retired from, the city bus. She has all kinds of stories.
Okay, so in order to avoid...
I'm actually fascinated. I've learned so much about Shala in the past 90 seconds.
She just drops these bombs, doesn't she? Like every now and then she just casually mention, I used to be a spy for the CIA or something. What random stuff.
Like getting of Austin Powers when he's talking about his growing up.
Yeah, baby. What? Who is this? Damien, what are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I am alive today.
Pro.
Yeah. But I think I'm doing really well. I've been super busy at work. I have been very busy. My second youngest child is about to graduate high school, and he's planning on going to college away from home this fall. So that's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. My very youngest son is learning how to drive, which is terrifying.
Oh.
Just because, kids learning how to drive.
I have friends whose kids are now 15, and I too am just like, Dylan's getting behind the wheel of a car. No, that's just no.
Yeah. I think once Cole gets his license in a car that he's free to drive, we will probably never see him again, because he's just like, I don't know. So my generational experience when I was growing up and learning how to drive in the mid 90s and all that, right? Everybody wanted to drive. Everybody wanted to get out of the house, right? When I was 19, I was chain smoking and driving across the country, right? My 22-year-old doesn't have a driver's license, right? And I've talked to other parents in my same age group who have kids, and they've all been like, it's so weird. They don't want to leave the house. They don't want to learn how to drive. But Cole is a different one. He's gonna be out doing the thing, which is awesome. So yeah, I'm excited for him.
It totally blows my mind that there are kids out there that don't They don't want to drive. They're just like completely fine without having a driver's license, and that just does not compute to me.
I'm not mad at it.
It's a thing, and it's big enough that parents talk about it quite often. So like, it just seems to cross a lot of like cultural boundaries. It's very interesting, and I wonder if it's like COVID related, like kids that grew up through COVID, or if it's just because, you know, we have Discord now and we can all talk all day and we don't need to get up and leave our house to go do it, right? So I don't know.
For me, with my my younger sister, I remember when she was getting, because we have like a 12, 14-year gap. And so I remember when it was time for her to start driving.
Chris.
That time I randomly got a sister. From my military dad, but like if that says anything.
Congratulations, Shala.
She didn't want to drive because of the anxiety, and I was like, you know what? I get that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I too remember. Hello. I too remember the anxiety, but I was more excited to get the heck out of like the sphere of my parents and just like escape for, you know, the random seconds that anyway. Andrew Brown, hi. We have gone completely off the rails for the past 7 minutes.
I had my driver's license. I just walked everywhere. So I used to walk like 3-4 hours a day, every day, everywhere. So
is that why you're so skinny?
I was skinny. I mean, I'm kind of fat right now, but I will get back on the walking train soon enough.
4 hours a day. So you like had like a 10-mile radius that you traversed in?
I used to, when I lived in Thunder Bay, I used to walk from, it used to be 2 towns. I used to walk from town to town when it was still safe to walk around. But I don't know.
Play a guitar while you did this? You sound like a bard or something.
I mean, I did have a ukulele. So
That's amazing.
I mean, it's not too far from it, but I don't have one anymore. My kids smashed it. So, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Episode 5, Andrew Brown's ukulele stories. All right.
I heard those were like one of the most difficult stringed instruments to play. Or to learn how to play.
I don't think so. I mean, like, I think the reason I like them is that they're just easier on the hands. Like real guitars are just, man, they're so hard on the hands, at least for me. So I think that's the reason I liked it. But it's not bad. I mean, it's just hard to get a good sound on it unless you have a really good uke. So
you're rocking out with Weird Al.
Yeah, well, you're not competing with Weird Al. So you can take I'm sure you can like pick up a vacuum and play it better than anything I can play. So
I went down the Weird Al musical rabbit hole last night. He is such a good artist. Anyways, sorry, Chris. This show is off the rails.
No, this is perfectly fine. You know what? This is why we all get together.
Much like AI these days, it's off the rails.
And not undifferentiated. Oh, the word just escaped my brain. Oh, I hate it. Anyway, doesn't matter. Mr. Brown, non-deterministic. Also non-deterministic. That is our show. Our show is completely non-deterministic tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Brown, you are in the process of making a boatload of boot camps. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that before we get into the demos and learn some of that? We have a bunch of questions for you, but tell us about what these boot camps are doing. Who are the kinds of people that you ideally would like to see show up, and what they're going to learn?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we're still on the AI wave in terms of content. I mean, the stuff that I make is driven from what people want, right? So clearly people still want traditional courses. We are still seeing demands across the board for AWS, Azure, DevOps, and things like that. But we are seeing a lot more new people coming into the market. I would say technically savvy people or they're technical in their field, but not necessarily in the developer vertical, that are trying to enter into the AI market. Think doctors, again, all these kind of people, and they're jumping in. So, we are seeing some things plateau in some areas and other areas gain. And so that's why I've been producing a lot of AI courses, specifically around developer tools, because everybody wants to build, even though there's a lot more in the AI landscape than just that. And so I'm nearing the completion of what I wanted to record for courses, and then we're going to be kicking out boot camp. So the Claude Code Camp is coming. That is not specific to Claude Code, but the idea here is to get a very hands-on project. Utilizing all the AI developer skills for that kind of stuff. There is still demand, like Terraform. I think we want to do another boot camp in Terraform as people want to do that. People wanted to do GitHub again, but I don't know. Maybe we might do Codeberg or something else, as GitHub has been sailing a different flag these days and having different kinds of challenges.
I was saying maybe we should wait until people can actually run GitHub Actions before before you have another boot camp.
Yeah, well, I mean that's why we would learn to use Gitea. What's it called? Gitea? I don't know. Pardon?
GitLab.
Well,
Gitea, Gitea. I don't know how that's pronounced either.
Gitea Action. So that's Codeberg has Gitea, or maybe they're separate, but also GitLab actually does have a community edition. And so what we learn is that you got to keep all paths moving, and anything I have set just changes, right? Like it's just constant changing, which is fine, right? For me. As you know, I have no issues with changings of technology. So. But
no,
yeah,
I don't.
So not to like unnecessarily butter you up here, but you have a very agile brain, Andrew. It fascinates me how well you're able to like absorb crazy amounts of detail and then remember it, right? Like that's just yeah.
Well, I don't remember it. but I
remember it long enough to record a video.
Enough to record a video, or I mean, like I go back and look at my notes. Like I'm refreshing the AWS Cloud Practitioner, and I have a lot of hands-on labs, and like I'm kind of going, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be an expert in. Like I spent obviously a lot of time in AWS, but even I'm going, how does this work again? So I think that some of that gets left out because you're not seeing maybe the first pass on that stuff. But I don't know. You just got to pick stuff up and drop it, right? Like it's just our industry, right?
So it's the and drop it part that is kind of funny about you, because you will study your brains out for a test, go past the test, create content around what you studied for to pass the test. Pivot to something else and immediately forget everything that you learned for the thing that you pivoted away from. Yeah. Which, I mean, for folks in the industry that are like, baked into one particular cloud, your skill, to Damien's point, your skill set is enviable, because, being able to just like soak it up, regurgitate it, do an exam, and then go learn Japanese or forging or small board.
Anything, yeah.
The thing, yeah. Okay, so this AI thing. Do you think that do you think it's going to be around, or do you think it's a passing fad?
I mean, I think the developer tools are productive. I suspect that token usage is going to increase, because why wouldn't it? I think that if you pay a developer whatever amount you want, then why wouldn't they try to make that the same cost of using tokens with whatever, and you don't have to deal with a person. So I expect token usage costs to be going up as subscriptions to weaken. But I do believe that there is a path forward with that, where you just have workflows where you're building out agents or specialized tools to help automate stuff. But yeah, I don't think it's going away. But I think we will probably see it swing back, where we're going to have some kind of balance between people actually implementing and people automating stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of the subsidization of AI is coming to an end, right? Like Microsoft announced their Copilot changes, right, to get away from request-based billing, which is absurd, and focus more on token-based billing, right? So I do think that like token-based billing is going to catch on. It'll be interesting if and or when Microsoft comes out with their own foundational model. Yeah, because they have been heavily subsidizing the AI market for a long time now.
I think. Sorry.
No. Yeah. We're going to say.
Oh yeah, I think anybody that's vertically integrated by having their own. When I say vertically integrated, I mean having their own model, are going to be the key players, of course. So like, I think that we were seeing Grok trying to inquire, or acquire cursor, right? So then they have not just a model, but something around the model. I'm still curious to see what Meta is going to do, as I would suspect that they must be having a new model coming out, but I don't hear them focusing on developer tools or things around that. So I guess we'll just see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. Token-based stuff is fine. Like I don't feel like I've been impacted by any of these changes whatsoever, just because my workflow has been balanced and token-based, and I'm not using I'm not running Opus, max constantly. So I think I've already struck that balance, but we'll just see how people feel about it as it goes forward. So
one really interesting thing I've been doing with Claude lately with Claude Desktop is so I was experimentally having Claude build an MCP out of whole cloth, right? It in TypeScript, and I don't know a single thing about TypeScript. But I was kind of ideating and working through a lot of stuff with Opus 4.7 in Claude Desktop, and then Claude would output a prompt that I would then drop into Sonnet 4.6 on Claude Code to do all the iteration work and like run all the tests and then iterate if they fail. And it was chewed up a lot of my daily usage every time, but it was interesting. And I actually have a pretty solid .1 version of an MCP. But yeah, it's a hell of a lot more interesting understanding like how Claude works in cowork or in code versus desktop, just parallel versus serial tool calls and tool call limits and things like that. I've actually been kind of fascinated by it.
I have to say, these days, Claude Chat and Claude Code, those are, especially Claude Chat right now, that's my MVP at the moment for my consulting work.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that I've created with that's been like really good. It allows me to not sound like a dummy on phone calls because it helps me with context switching between projects, because at any given time I have 5 to 10 different projects under my belt at the same time. So yeah.
Has anybody else played so since our local model episode with Duan, I've been trying to play with a lot more with Hugging Face and Olama. Has anybody played with the new Kiwi stuff, or is there sticking with Frontier models?
Oh, sorry, Kimi?
Yeah, Kimi, not Kiwi.
The last course, actually, I don't think it's even out on Free Code Camp, but I was using Olama Cloud. So that whole course was about exploring different open models or Chinese models, however you want to describe it. Actually, I found Gemma to be really impressive because of its low memory footprint. But out of the 3, there was GLM, Kimi, and Quen. I think there's one more, but I was absolutely blown away with Kimi's performance. Like it was just it just felt like the Claude Sonnet of the open space.
Yes.
And I mean, honestly, I would keep using it if I just didn't have a subscription to everything. Like I literally just unsubscribed to my Olama Cloud, not because I didn't like it, but just I'm like, I can't run everything. So unless I need it, I'm just going to cut some things back. But it's good. The only problem is like, how are you going to run that locally? And you need quite a bit of heavy hardware, which I don't have. So,
why don't we get into a little bit about so you're doing the boot camp now. What are the things? Let's get like a little bit of a teaser for what people should expect. I know that you've got a bunch of demo stuff spooled up and everything. Do you want us to just bring that up now, or do you want to do an intro to explain it, or how do you want to do this?
I mean, we could talk a little bit about the boot camp that's coming up. So the Claude Code Camp is not, again, specific to Claude, but we're leading with that because they're the market leader. I think that there are certain areas that people are really interested. So we have everyday automation, which is just doing whatever. Autonomous agents, which is think of like open Claude that goes out and does stuff. And then there's development where people are building bespoke. I love this bespoke application stuff, which to me is just applications, but It just means a non-productionized application that's internal to your organization. But anyway, bespoke is easier to say. And so those three aspects.
No, a very kind English gentleman comes out and he measures your application and does chalk on the pant legs of your application. It's very awesome. Yeah. Bespoke.
So there's those three pillars that we want to do. As a prereq, there's two things that people need to know. They need to know how to work with some kind of coding harness. That's why I made videos across the landscape of coding harnesses. But there are conceptual concepts, like in the Claude Architect Foundations, where you learn about the coordinator pattern and how to do good prompting, stuff like that. But we don't really end up rolling that all up together into a main project. But I think that a lot of people are sleeping on getting those deeper skills with prompting and orchestration, which I on screen here, I actually just have the Claude Architect here because I ended up making a bunch of projects in here. Like I wasn't trying to, but there was no other way to explain this stuff without building it. Yeah, we'll bring it up here.
I can pop it up. There we go.
And again, this isn't the bootcamp, but this is just an example of like tons and tons and tons of projects that are showing all these different methodologies. And so the only problem with it is that it doesn't roll up into something practical. And so that would be probably the next step to it. But like, there's just tons of stuff. So like, if I go into here, I don't even remember what half these things are, but like I had created this one's for Doom. So what did it do? It was exploration orchestrator for the Doom code base. Oh yeah. So I wanted to know more about the Doom code base. And so I ended up implementing, an agent that would go in and it would go find out key information. So I think actually we had two agents in here, we had an explorer that would go into the code base and then would produce findings. And then we had a synthesizer that would roll up that information into that stuff. Folks, have you done any of this kind of stuff yet with exploring code bases and synthesizing stuff and creating your knowledge base so that you can find stuff easier? So you're spending less tokens trying to find stuff or...
So I've done something very manually, not like this though. I've had it like, explain a code base to me, update the skill and kind of skinny it down. But this looks way more involved. Walk us through this.
So is this decompiled or is this original source it's working from?
So the source code was on GitHub. So I just said, give me the original source code. And then I ended up just pulling it into here so that it could crawl the C and H code.
Right.
And
instead of doing like a web call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so over here we ended up creating our agents, and as you can see, agents are just simply markdown files, right? Not always the case. Often we are implementing them. Actually, we'll take a look here because the coordinator probably has that information in here.
Did you have the agent writer skill write the agent, or did you manually write the agent?
So in this thing, I was incrementally creating things with generative stuff and auditing as we go. And so some of these projects, the technical debt is very low and the structure is very, very clean. And other ones we just gen them out and then we're comparing the quality between them. So like this one, I think I might have just genned out in sequential steps. But a lot of times we pulled from code bases or pulled from prior projects, which is another thing is that I think that if you are going to be using these tools and you're going to be using a token-based consumption model, which you'll have to, it's not optimal to use Claude Code or Codex directly to have it to write the code. What's better is you have your boilerplate template where you have a general coordinator agent and it has the logging and loading templates. I actually have a refactor in here as an example. It is called refactor probably. It's somewhere in here.
Coordinator
go
refactor.
Up to, yeah.
Right. And so this is more of an example of like, okay, I fine-tuned my like code that I know how to read. Right. And then the idea is that you would, when you build a new project, you just say, just go reference my coordinator refactor and stick to that. Because I found that no matter any kind of have you heard of spec-driven development? It's these things where...
Yeah.
Okay. So I just found spec-driven development not to be very effective. And
you can explain it, though, just for the audience, if you don't
Sure.
mind.
So spec-driven development is a framework where it forces a opinionated way of generating, or we'll say synthesizing sounds cooler. Synthesizing plans, specs, and tasks. And so, again, it's just an opinionated way to run it. But despite all that, I feel that it just ends up consuming a lot of credits, and then you don't really get the results that you want, and that it confines your development and slows things down. And so I found that having a code base that you reference a lot better. Okay, so you have your boilerplate, like this is what my standards are, and you could have a separate agent that would go in, and after you do code, it would go and run it again, and it would be less costly and more flexible than using spec-driven development. But there also is another strategy. There was actually a boot camper. I know I'm all over the place here, but they were actually our number one boot camper in the GenAI boot camp last year. And everything that we're talking about now, this person had already figured out, and I was already talking to them, and I was waiting for them to create a project, and they actually ended up making it, which I'm trying to pull up here, called workscope.dev. And so this is not spec-driven development, but it's a different way of enforcing the agents to do exactly what you wanted to do. Because I don't know if any of you have worked in a very large code base with this stuff, but often it'll be like constantly like, there's a word for repping, like looking around for stuff that it shouldn't be looking at, and broadening its search and wasting tokens, and just doing things that you didn't ask it to do, even with spec-driven development. And so what this fellow engineered, it really keeps it on the rails. So if you ever have time and you want to see what the future of working with larger code bases is, there's a lot to peel out of here. But the simpler form of it is have a code base reference, right? And have a way of collecting navigational paths and creating your knowledge base. And that's where all developers are trying to figure out right now is like, what is the best approach? Which the honest answer is there isn't. It's just what works for you. But anyway, we are all over the place. Let's go back down to, yeah, I'm all over the place. Back down to
I love it.
Our Doom agent, right? And so I feel that most things you're going to be always having your coordinator. And this one, I'm looking for its prompt. I think this one's minimal, so we don't have this one, and it just calls the agents directly. Sometimes I'll have like a coordinator prompt within this one, but I think this one's so simple that it just fires off the agents and it utilizes the file system stuff. But anyway, so this thing again, it's just an Explorer agent, and it just goes and it searches the code base, and I don't know, just grabs stuff. So, I don't know, like I don't find this exciting, but here again, it just shows you all the information, and the idea is that once you collect up that large knowledge base, you can find stuff. There's another project that I built in here, which it was like, actually we didn't end up using it, but I ended up building it, which was like I'm off. My camera turns off every 30 minutes, so I have to turn it on and off.
That's a quarter in it.
Quarter.
It's a technical complication that would take forever to explain, but there's a reason for it. So I ended up making a.
That's why he's making the forge. You've got to get the iron bar to run it.
that's probably right. But I ended up making in here an agent that is used for screening applications for jobs, because we actually had a thing, and then even though I built it, my co-founder didn't use it. That's usually the problem. It's like it doesn't matter if you build the best thing ever in the world if nobody adopts it when you're within your organization. So
yeah,
but it built that, and then I built a thing to help me find it's not on my desk anymore, but there's a movie that I really like, and I was trying to find similar movies like it. And so I built an agent that goes out and collects research and then gathers that research and stores it in a very particular way. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I didn't really plan this out very well, but it's good in the course. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the entry point for somebody that is thinking about taking the bootcamp, because your bootcamp posits that this is from zero. So what is the starting point for the technically savvy person that has not done any Gen AI, but let's say has an IDE installed? Where are they starting from in your course?
Does that person exist?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So the crusty old sysadmin who has refused to write code, he's got Notepad++, and he's like, okay, fine. I've been told that I will be fired if I don't learn Gen AI, so I'm installing VS Code now. What do I do?
I'm going to pull up a slide here that will maybe help a little bit here if I can find it. I think it's this one.
He's always got a slide for something. This is amazing.
It's not the best one, but anyway, that's not the good one. Oh, it's probably my new course. It is in.
You mean when you say the new course? Do you mean the Claude course, or how many new courses do you have?
I have too many. Anyway, this is one of my roadmaps. So the idea here is that it depends on where you're coming in from. So I think that if you are in the tech realm of DevOps, developer, whatever, those kind of roles, you don't need from zero. You can just jump right in, and you just need to pick up coding harness skills. And I think that you should get skills like the Claude Certified Architect, not because you like Claude, but because they conceptually teach things that are applicable to every single thing for working with coding harnesses, but also building out agents and building them so they work really, really well. Another thing that I think that people should pick up just to future-proof themselves, we're talking about people that are tech, like in our tech vertical, is I think they should also take a look at the AI infrastructure operations, because that gives you a good understanding of the hardware requirements of what it takes to run the stuff. And so that really opened up my eyes of like, okay, this is what I could run on my desk, or if I couldn't run it on my desk, like what kind of hardware I could get and what size of models and stuff. And so that just keeps all of our options open, right? If you really don't have any knowledge, then I have that Gen AI Essentials, which is more of a broader course. It covers everything. But if you are coming in from, like if you are a accountant or a doctor or whatever, an entrepreneur, then I'm making a very specific series of courses called From Zero. And basically, this is just me tricking people to learn foundational content. Because you say like, hey, I'm going to teach you coding. People go, you don't need coding anymore. Right. So we repackage that, we reframe it, and I'm gonna give you the highlights of like how to look at code, so that you can reduce your technical debt. But you're basically just learning coding. But don't tell anybody that.
Let's I hate to say the phrase double click on that, but let's double click on that, because
my God.
Thank you. You're welcome. Everybody enjoyed that one. Bullshit bingo for the win. What do you say when you hear somebody say, "Oh, because AI, everybody, Jensen Huang and Sam Altman and all of them are saying, coders are going to be obsolete. I don't need to learn code anymore." What is your response?
You go, yeah, you don't need to learn code anymore, but I'll show you how to productionize your app. And then I'm like, I'm showing them code. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they can say whatever they want to make themselves feel good. At the end of the day, like there is technical knowledge you need to know and to apply it, or you are going to pay the cost for not knowing.
So, right? So people, we still need coders, is what you're saying.
You need people, yes, of course, or you need people that have the knowledge of coding, right? Like if I stopped coding for 5 years, I wouldn't lose my skills. But there are some people that are earlier in their career, maybe they're only 5 or 7 years in, and for them, if they walk away from it, those skills atrophy. But for me, they're locked in for whatever reason. I don't think these technical skills are obsolete.
Mm-mm.
So to your point, I have seen Claude generate 5 megabyte index.htmls, right?
Very efficient.
Yeah, right. Like, who cares? Chrome already takes up a half a friggin' terabyte of memory. What's 5 megabytes of processing a single page? But yeah, as like going back to my thing about the MCP with TypeScript, like I was actually asking Claude, like, are we solving this problem in a sane way, or are we being insane about it? Right? It's like I can scratch my nose, or I can reach around my head. Like, which one is Claude doing here? Like, if a TypeScript developer who writes MCPs looked at that, would they be like, "What the hell have you done?" Like,
yeah,
you've built an overcomplicated abomination. So yes, I think that like domain specific expertise is still very valuable on April 29th of 2026.
Well, I mean, at some point you're going to need someone to clean up
Right.
whatever it is you have, and if they don't call it coding, they'll just call it something else, and you will buy into it, and that's just how it is. And I mean, you just let people have their weird thoughts. I don't care. I don't code anymore. I just productionize applications by observing the code, and then I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't make, or it's just like it's just people will realize, like, once the token cost goes up, they're like, oh, it's free for me just to write the code myself. Like, it's just going to be one of those moments where the pendulum swings back the other way. But like, I'm looking at my old business partners, and like I'm very removed from their projects, but they literally look like you ever heard of LinkedIn lunatics where they just say delusional things?
Yes.
And so they literally like are saying super delusional things. Like they think like they're Jensen, I forget how to say his last name, but
Huang,
and they want to wear the leather jacket and be like, I don't need a coder anymore, whatever. And then the next day they're like, but it can't replace me. They're like, it generated out, but it wasn't as good as, so we still need me. Or they'll get to a certain point and then they're still hiring. They're still bugging me to help them with their projects, and I say no.
I saw something the other day. I genuinely don't know if it was satire or not, but it was somebody saying it was cheaper to hire a junior dev than to pay Claude for basic coding.
So no, that was not sarcastic. That was actually legit. CFOs are now starting to look at the cost of token burn, and they're like, wait a minute, a junior dev is cheaper than this. What is happening?
But we fired them 2 years ago, boss, because they had junior in the title.
Right.
I just don't understand, like, when people say junior developer, because like in Toronto, when we got a junior developer, they had already gone through computer science for multiple years, and they had gone through multiple co-ops, and they were already kind of integrated to get into those companies. But like when I was starting out my career, I never got a junior role. I wasn't until I became senior level that I was hireable. And so I just never felt that path. And so when people say like, like junior developers are not being hired anymore, I'm like, when were they getting hired and for what? But I'll just be honest, like what were they? And I mean, like, if it's just help desk, like they're not a junior developer, they're working help desk, or I just don't understand where that path is. And to me, it just doesn't feel like anything has changed, other than it's harder probably to get screened and apply for a job because of the amount of noise being generated on both sides of screening and people applying using these tools.
That path is probably like artificial, if I were to guess, right? Like junior versus senior is probably time in the seat, but like I hear what you're saying, but I do feel like that's probably like a distinction made in the marketplace, not necessarily made like as part of like training people or
I feel like for me, my experience has been it all ties back to dollars, right? And a lot of times I feel like what I've noticed is with a junior dev, a lot of times what will happen is when companies want to build up their pool of people, so they always have like that right there. I think Keith is choosing violence, and I'm here for it.
Keith's popping off.
See, but for me, what I've noticed is like the junior role. That's how like companies were just like having a pool of people that they felt that they can have in-house to get trained up, so that way if something big came along and people retired or they just needed more people, they could go pull from the junior seat. And of course, they paid them less,
I guess my thought was just that those pipelines were well defined. So like, again, in Toronto, everyone was coming from Waterloo or very specific places, or if there was organizations, they were coming from I don't know if they still exist anymore, but the 2010s when we had the explosion of I guess they're called bootcamps. Yeah, bootcamps. We don't.
Yeah.
Do bootcamps not exist anymore? I'm the only one still doing bootcamps, and I've
We're still around.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just haven't been.
I just did one for Google.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I mean brick and mortar ones like downtown in your tech center. They're still going.
I think
That I don't
so.
know.
That's what I'm
I mean,
talking about.
We have some here in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a lot like it used to be, but there's some of it coming back. I think there is a lot of, with AI around, that's kind of changing it up because I think there are a number of people that's using AI to learn these days, and it's cheaper.
It's
Yeah.
it's a patient, perfect tutor that I can ask all my dumb questions incessantly at 2 a.m. in the morning, and it never gets tired until the token
Never
dies.
gets mad at me either, know.
Yeah, dummy.
Does any of you know anybody that has built something with AI and shipped it and made money with it?
Yes.
Yeah, wasn't there that one kid that made like 30 grand, but then everybody found out that it was vibe coded, so then they hacked the shit out of it and exposed all of his credit card numbers or something? That's the only one that I know anecdotally. I do not personally know anybody. I know a lot of people that are making a living off of taking the vibe coded slop that somebody in marketing made and then decrapifying it and turning it into production level code. In fact, that is the company I'm going to go work for in a couple of weeks.
I'm not talking about productionizing the slop. I'm talking about, do you know anyone that's built something
from scratch that wasn't a developer to begin with?
Solo entrepreneur, that developer. Okay.
Yeah, I can't get, sorry, I have stuff I can't get into, but basically someone super close to me, they were laid off back in December during corporate rework stuff. And so they ended up building something really nice and then got to sell it. Yeah. And I was very jealous.
Like because of the idea or?
Both. It was the idea, it working. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be out there soon. I'm so jealous.
All right, that's a conversation when we go off stream.
So, but does anyone have anything that they're just to fish people's ideas? Does anyone have anything that they want to try to make a side hustle with right now, like using AI?
I have a buddy that is working in like kind of a niche hobby space that has almost entirely vibe coded. Well, vibe coding is almost kind of a slur, right? But like he doesn't have domain experience in development with that language, but he does have a very clear understanding of requirements and working through those, and is basically replacing a spreadsheet method with an application on the web, right? And I think aspirationally, there's money to be made there, but the goal was never to make money from his perspective, right? But like he's built a pretty cool thing that does what it's supposed to do, But he also has some like domain experience developers that are looking at what he and Claude and Codex and whomever else have generated kind of as a sanity check. So he's not entirely off the rails. But yeah, it is very cool. But to answer your question, I don't know anyone who's actually made money off of a vibe coded thing.
I think for me, just because I've been able to build whatever I've wanted forever, and it's like you think like, oh, you must be a billionaire over and over again if you can build whatever you want, but that doesn't come down to
you're broke.
That doesn't come down. Well, yeah, sure. It keeps you busy, right? If you're distracted by lots of things, but I think that there's just hard parts that people don't address, like marketing, packaging, lining the product and stuff like that. That stuff never changes. And I think it's even harder now because now we're being flooded with junk and people are just so turned off by anything that comes down the pipeline. Like I like my Japanese language learning. I have a really cool app that I built that's not on this computer. It's on another one where it's for shadowing for the JLPT N5. And it's like the perfect resource. But the problem is that there's so much noise because there's so many people learning Japanese that are also software developers that we've seen so many awful apps that like you can't even just naturally tell people about it. I would have to like have a whole ad campaign and stuff like that. And even still, like to get people's attention is very, very hard. So like building your audience and all that other stuff is still, it still matters. There was a person the other day that came to me and they're like, hey, Andrew Brown, I built this thing that generates out practice exam questions for AWS. We should talk. And I'm going, what can I do with that? Because I can build it myself, or if they built it, why do they need me? Because at the end of the day, you need a funnel to sell or have trust for the products, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't sound like it's something that would be very difficult to do either.
Well, they had a little spin to their thing, but there was some kind of gimmick to it. But again, at the end of the day, it's like, like, what are you bringing? Are you bringing a funnel? Or are you bringing, like some technical advancement? But I don't know. I'm having lots of fun building stuff though. So
Same.
Andrew is here to learn things and make money, and he's running out of things to learn.
Yeah. Maybe finally we can help him make a little bit of money too.
Yeah.
All right. So Keith Townsend, who's in the audience, says that he actually has a buddy who has created a consulting buddy who has created a solid golf tournament app. 68 years old and a former crusty old admin who has a production level apparently golf tournament app. So that's two people we know of now. Nice. All right. Andrew, we lost your screen share. So if you are if you're still trying to share or show something, we can pop that back up. Or if we're done and we're just chatting now, then that's perfect.
Oh, I didn't have anything more unless we want to play
Doom.
It would say Doom. Yeah, I was going to say Slay the Spire. Actually, I've never played that game, but it has card-based elements to it, right?
It is a card-based roguelike, yes.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought of Gen AIing out your own version of the game?
Charlotte, aren't you making a game using AI? That's
I'm almost done with it. Yeah, that'll be something fun. What I wanted to do was challenge AI basically, as well as myself. So my husband ended up building a game, and I was like, well, that's cool. Let me see if I can build a game. And so we compete, right? Like healthily. And so I decided, well, I'm going to build a game too, but I'm going to have AI create the whole story. And I'm not going to know the story until I play the game live on stream. And so I came up with a way to do that where, AI has come up with the story, the characters, and I don't know what the story is. So when I play it on stream, I get to play basically what I'm calling my own game, as if I went to the store and bought it and had nothing to do with development. I only know the mechanics. That's the part that I do know, that I've been vibe coding, but AI completely came up with the story.
Ooh, is this a JRPG?
Mm-hmm. So
nice.
I'm building it where it has like nostalgia, SNES, Game Boy, Zelda vibes. So you have, the story, you can make choices and it affects the stories. There's probably going to be some type of attacking and stuff like that. So it's going to have that kind of like top level down movement going on. So yeah, that's another thing. So speaking of Claude code being down, that's also where I wanted to jump in, and I kind of forgot, where when it comes to knowing the fundamentals, like knowing how to code and knowing networking, whatever, comes in handy, because when these tools go down, you can't sit there. I will be live streaming it. You can't sit there and be like, oh, I can't work right now because AI is down. You still need to work. So it's helpful to know how to code. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But for your game there, like, did it code the engine from scratch, or did you use like MCP to like JRPG Maker? Because I was using actually it's in my course that I had showed up there, but I was showing people how to control Roblox because my kid likes Roblox. I was using MCP to insert things and build levels and stuff like that. But because I like this idea of it building out a JRPG story that you don't know. Because literally this week I was looking up like what are all the tropes in a classic JRPG game. Like there's always like one is always like there's the white whale. Someone's going after the white whale or something. But
yeah. So I didn't hook up an MCP to it yet. That's going to be the next step, because matter of fact, talking with my husband about it, what I want to do right now, I'm just like, hey, let me get like a 15 to 30 minute story, and then I'm gonna just play it on live stream. And I've also been live streaming, by the way, for anyone who's interested in how I went about building this in a way where I don't spoil the story. I stream that on the weekends. So you can see the behind the scenes process because I'm still building it right now. I'm almost done. But anyways, talking with the hubs, I know I am. Once I get past this original playthrough, see how that works out, whether it works out well or not. I think it's going to work out well, though. It's been doing really good. But anyways, I'm going to probably tie in like an MCP and some other stuff because what I wanted to be able to do is AI at any point can just live switch up the dialogue as it feels like. And so it can help create some of the drama and chaos that I like. Anyone who is into the new game that's out is Tomodachi Life. It's like Animal Crossing kind of got mixed with The Sims or whatever. That's what first made me want to create the game in the first place because it's cozy but messy at the same time in a good way.
Tomodachi Life.
Yes.
I haven't seen that. By the way, my set here, which I just redid this week, I actually used AI to help me fix it up because I went to school for like film and photography, but it's so much work to figure out the lighting and stuff like that. So I just kept taking a screenshot and saying like, how do I set up my lights? How do I set up my lights? And they're like, take your light and adjust it this way, whatever. And it kept going. And so I literally have like a 5 light setup in here. It still needs more work, but and even adjusting my entire camera. So that was really nice to not have to pull out my old photography book and be like, how does aperture work again?
Yep.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. AI's been helping me with setting up lighting, doing a better job with vocals. I used AI so much. I help it to Japandi my house, all those kind of things.
What you feed it pictures, or you're doing like a video stream, or what?
So like with say redecorating the house and stuff in like a Japandi way. Yeah, I snap a picture, like several pictures of a room. And then I'll like feed it pictures of, I'm thinking about getting like this furniture piece. What do you think? And if I get it, like, how do I place it? Like my curtain placement that I did, that hits in such a beautiful way. And what I was able to do was, this was way before like Claude became Claude and I started using it. I was using ChatGPT and I was just like, hey, and since, we built the house, I had the blueprints, know the sizes of walls and things like that. So I was like, the wall height is this, the width is this. What length curtains do I need to create a dreamy flowing feel? It got it right. It's so on point and I love it. So stuff like that, it'll help me like do placements. Say like even with doing like the bookshelf back there, I had it a certain way and then it will tell me like, you know what, if you want to do the wabi-sabi Japandi style of design, less is more. And so it helped me like pull out some things. And I was like, you know what? I do like it better.
You're just making up words now, aren't you?
You should turn on the lava lamp.
So you're putting your local interior designers out of business, right?
Yep.
They're expensive.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It's just people go, these pretty people out of jobs. Like, who's paying for this stuff?
I learned how to fix a toilet because, I'd be in my real estate bag and a toilet broke. It started flooding. And I was like, what's wrong with it? So you take some pictures. I didn't know toilets had donuts. I do now.
Yeah.
A wax donut. Yeah.
The wax ring. Yeah.
You have to be very careful when you remove it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Entirely different. Episode 7. Sean as a plumber.
I legitimately hate working on toilets at the house. It is the worst possible work. Oh God.
Yep. At the church, we have a toilet installed, but no one's allowed to use it because Baco's like we have our events. He's like, I hope nobody uses the toilet. I'm like, well, why do we have it then? He's just like, well, because we haven't fully laid the tile in, and so like if anyone goes to the bathroom, he'll have to remove it, and he doesn't want any gross stuff coming out. But but it's set up if people need to use it, so it's just emergency. If it's a toilet, let people use the toilet. So.
Okay, we are coming up on time. I did have one last question that I wanted to pose to Mr. Brown.
Sure.
Yep. Our hero, Mr. Brown.
Sure. Our hero, Mr. Brown. So you showed the screenshot with all of the different certifications for the AI stuff.
Yeah.
in the year of our Lord 2026, do you still recommend that people take certifications to learn about AI? Like what is the value of doing the certs as opposed to, or in conjunction with doing your bootcamp? Like, why would somebody want to take a cert now?
I mean, again, I certs are just learning posts, right? This doesn't ever change. There's very few certs that will actually advance your career. I mean, I think right now the Claude Architect Foundations is probably one of the hottest certifications, and it can position you for some organizations that are trying to get more people under their firms and stuff like that. But generally, I don't think they matter unless, again, you live in was the DMV, and there are jobs that are specifically calling for very specific certifications that are already trusted certifications for a very long time, like specific CompTIA certs. They're learning posts, folks.
So much like the cloud certifications, it's not going to get you the job, but it's going to give you the baseline of the broad swath of knowledge that you need. One of the ones that was in there that I didn't know about was the NVIDIA one. Why did you recommend that one?
Because I knew a bunch of people at AWS and Azure that were taking it, and then I was like, why are all these really smart people taking it? And then when I dived into it, I went, oh, that's why. And
what was the name of that one again? The NVIDIA what?
The NVIDIA infrastructure and operations or whatever. And they have a lot of junk ones, but like that one was good because it explained the infrastructure, and you have to understand like how many organizations are getting set up with their own data centers, specifically with the DGX system, right? So there's definitely opportunities there. So I'm going to say like certs are 100% useless. I just don't want to overpromise people on it, but it does feel like 2015 where, just talking about upskilling, not necessarily getting a cert, but just talking about having those skill sets opens conversations with folks. So I still think going out to your events, and if you still have local events, or organize your own, and talking about what you're learning is just as valuable. But a lot of people like using certs as their vehicle. So
nice. Okay, cool. Guys, any last questions that you wanted to pose, or anything that came up in the thread that I missed?
Claude code is down.
Claude code is down. We are all in trouble. Oh, all right. Well, I guess we're all getting fired tomorrow.
Guess I'm going to bed on time tonight.
Nice. All right. I will provide all of the links for Andrew for your bootcamp. So are you still doing the free option and then the opt-in to pay for it if you want to? Or
for the Claude Code Camp, I believe it's a paid one. There was no way around it. But we are running the ExamPro grants program. So we actually had community members that came out and basically are supporting very specific affinity groups. So if you belong to affinity group, you apply, you might get in for free or extremely reduced cost to get into it. So yeah, there's opportunities, but it's not fully open, this particular one. We might do a giant boot camp, like another Gen AI boot camp this year. But we will see. And that one would be free. I'm still
half an hour, your cammer went off.
Yeah, half an hour is fine.
Man.
Push the forge. Tweak the forge.
There we go. So I'm back. But yep. But that's gonna come out soon. So
awesome.
In May. Yep.
All right. Well, we will definitely have you back on again to talk more about it. I don't feel like it's a commercial to promote ExamPro because you've been so generous with your time and your energy with all of the free things that you do. You're extraordinarily community focused. So I don't feel like a salesman telling people to like go check you out because you more than deserve it. You're not like making a metric ton of money off of all of these things that you're doing.
No.
Yeah. And honestly, if Andrew were paying us for this, it would just be in Canadian money.
Yeah, it'd be like a nickel and like 3 canoes or something. I don't know how the conversion rate. It's mostly in geese,
Birch bark,
maple syrup, geese, and canoes. All right,
maple syrup.
Maple syrup
currency. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get right now.
Oh, tariffs. All right, we're not going down that road.
You don't touch the Vermont stuff, eh?
Vermont maple syrup is delicious. I'm right here in the middle of New England, and even for us, maple syrup is hella expensive right now. So, all right, everybody, we've got 17 episodes of delving into Shala's background that we need to get
We'll
into.
work for
after this.
maple, by the way. Add that to the list.
Episode 9, Shala working for maple syrup.
Yep.
I'm not even going to touch that. That is an HR violation. I'm going to shut up right now.
Andrew, thank you for your time, man. It's been a pleasure. And it's good to see your face.
Yep.
It's good to see your face.
Always.
having me. Mm-hmm.
Always.
All right, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.